We remember starting out in Airsoft and all the confusion we had about the different types of guns. And it kind of begs the question, is there a best type of Airsoft gun for beginners? Well, there actually is, and it just depends on a few factors. So in today's lesson, we're going to briefly explain the 3 common types of Airsoft guns, how they're powered, how ammo is getting delivered, and as a bonus, the pros and cons of getting one as your first weapon. We're not going to get super bogged down in details with this video, don't worry, we can do that another time. But it'll be easier to explain this in the workshop, so let's head over there. Alrighty, welcome to the workshop. We're going to start with arguably the most common type of rifle, the classic AEG, or automatic electric gun. Now, straight out of the gate, I have a bit of a confession to make. This is technically an EBB, electric blowback. But for today's video, all we really need is a rifle to point at, so this is going to do just fine. An AEG, as the name implies, is powered by electricity, usually stored in small battery packs like this, and they get hidden somewhere in the weapon. On this particular rifle, the battery is located in the grip, and it's gloriously simple to access, which isn't always the case. Once it's connected, the battery is used to power an electric motor in the gun, usually found in the grip, to then turn a series of gears within the gun's gearbox. This gearbox also houses a piston, which gets pulled towards the rear of the gun, filling it with air. At the same time, the piston is being pushed forward by a spring, so when the gears release the piston after it's been pulled back far enough, bang! The piston slams forward because of the spring, and the air is forced out of the barrel where the BB is just hanging out, ultimately sending it downrange and hopefully into your intended target. Now, how did that BB find its way into the gun? Well, a lot of parts had to move out of its path, but it started by being loaded into one of these, a high-cap magazine. These are great because you can load a lot of BBs into this well here. Let's get the light so you can see. It's just a big empty well with yet another fun gear and spring system that allow you to wind the exposed gear at the bottom of the magazine, but then the BBs make their way up this ready tube here, and then into the barrel as the gun needs them. You'll have to wind this gear occasionally to keep the tension up or the BBs won't feed into the gun, but that's all an AEG really needs to work. Now, should you get one of these as a starter gun? Well, the good news about these guns is that the batteries are easy to charge and, depending on the type, can have an excellent lifespan. Aside from having to replace them every few years, an AEG doesn't really consume anything, aside from a lot of BBs when you're on fully automatic. This makes them a very cost-effective choice when you're just starting out. On the downside, the internals of these AEG gearboxes can seem insanely complicated if you haven't worked on them before, and that makes repairs to them quite tricky. So take some time to make sure you're getting something with quality internals if longevity is something that's important to you. Okay, moving quickly along, we're going to talk about gas-powered rifles. If someone says their gun is powered by gas, then they're usually referring to CO2, green gas, or propane. The gas can either be stored internally within a tank that's built into the gun, or externally in cartridges or larger tanks that feed the gun. No matter how the gas gets there, it's already compressed, and that actually removes the need for a piston. Instead, gas guns rely on valves to release the pressure as needed. On this particular shotgun, if you look under the stock, you can see the charging port for the internal tank. Simply grab your gas of choice, fill the tank, and the gun's ready to go. Aside from the ammo part. That's where these shells come in. You can load them pretty quickly using a speed loader. The shells don't use any gears, and thankfully that cuts out the need to wind anything. A few BBs at a time enter the barrel as they're needed, once the shell is in the shotgun and it's been racked. After you fire a few times and the shell is empty, you just take it out and put a fresh one in. Pretty simple, right? Yes, there's a lot more going on, but those are the broad strokes. What you probably want to know is, should you get one as your first gun? The great thing about gas-powered guns is that they're powerful, accurate, and fairly simple to maintain. Gas guns aren't just limited to shotguns either. You can get just about any gun in some type of gas-powered variant. There's a lot to love about these systems, honestly. The main drawback is you'll have to cover the cost of the gas you'll be using, and that can add up quickly if you plan on playing a lot. Also, these guns tend to function best within a specific temperature range. But the main takeaway is that gas guns are great choices if you can afford to keep them stocked up with that sweet pressurized gold. And just quickly, this is an example of something that's externally powered by gas. The gas is inside of these little CO2 cartridges and get loaded into the magazine along with the ammo. Just insert the magazine into the gun, rack the slide, and it's ready to fire. And thanks to it being powered by gas, there's no need to rack the slide again after every shot. Alright, enough of that. Now, time for the king of efficiency, spring-powered rifles. Yep. Now, this happens to be a sniper rifle, but you can get them in shotguns, rifles, pistols, you name it. The main distinction of a spring-powered gun, or Springer as it's often called, is that you have to manually rack the gun after every shot. On this gun, there's a piston located behind the barrel. To prime the gun, you simply pull back on the charging handle and then return it. That's it. It's ready to fire. Assuming you put the mag into the thing. You did, right? Okay, similar to the shotgun shell, sniper magazines are usually lower capacity and use a simple spring and follower system to supply the gun with BBs. Just give it a quick hug from the speed loader to fill it with ammo, and then it's ready. Now, how amazingly simple is that? As a starter gun, spring guns are brilliant because they are cost effective and easy to maintain. Not to mention, a well-made bolt-action sniper rifle can be a serious threat on the field, in the right hands. The obvious downside is the slow rate of fire from having to rack it every time, and on very low-end guns, a severe lack of power to top it off. Reviews will probably be your best friend if you're trying to pick out a quality spring-powered gun. So, what's our recommendation at the end of all of this? Picking out a type of airsoft gun is going to come down to ultimately 3 things. Your budget for the expendables and repairs, the role you want to take, sniper, CQB, all that, and the performance you need from the gun. Take a little time to answer these questions, and we're sure you're going to have a much better idea of what type of gun is going to suit your purpose. But wait, don't go running out of the field and fit your iPro. Oh, you don't know what you should use? That's fine. We've got a video on that right here that can help narrow that down. Thanks for joining us in today's lesson. Class is dismissed.